Now, loved ones, this book is absolutely different. This book is history. And it's written in terms of history. It isn't written in terms of a never, never land. It's written in terms of this earth, in terms that can be checked, with facts that can be corroborated. And that is one of the great differences between the revelation of our Creator that you get in this book and the revelations that are claimed for Hindu scriptures, Mohammedan scriptures, Buddhist scriptures, Confucius, Zoroaster. Really, loved ones, when you look at this book, it talks always in terms of history. For instance, maybe you'd look at Matthew 22. Matthew 22 and verse 31. And you'll see the kind of language which is absolutely contrasted with the language of the fairy tale. Matthew 22 and verse 31. It's page 857. 857. Matthew 22 and verse 31. Jesus is speaking. And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not God of the dead, but of the living. And Jesus says, look, the God that I believe in and the God that has dealt with me, he's the God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob. You and I talk about the things Jesus has said about our Creator every morning, every Sunday morning. Those things were said 2,000 years ago by Jesus. Jesus is saying to us, look back another 2,000 years before me. Look back to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and the God who showed himself to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, examine him and compare him with the God who has shown himself to me. He's really saying, don't take my word on the things I have said about our Creator. Don't accept just my opinions. Check out the lives of historical men, Abraham and of Isaac and Jacob. Compare them with the contemporary records that you get of a king like Hammurabi. And make sure that the things really happened to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And then compare those things that happened in their lives with the things that happened in my life. Compare the actions that our Creator did in my life with the actions that He did in their life. And then decide for yourself what your God is like. That's what Jesus says to us, loved ones. Jesus never says, just trust me, just trust my insight and the subjective vision that I had while I sat under the bo tree. Just trust that what I know is true. He doesn't. He says, look, examine my life. Examine the things that happened to me. Examine my death and my resurrection. Then go back another 2,000 years and examine the mighty things that happened in the lives of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and decide for yourself what your Maker is like. Compare the facts against facts. That, loved ones, is the atmosphere of this dear book. That over a period of 4,000 years, God revealed himself consistently as the same person through actions which he did in people's lives over thousands and thousands of years. That's why you get all the begats in there. You know, those interminable genealogies that as kids we just hated, so-and-so begat so-and-so, and so-and-so begat so-and-so. And I thought, if anything proves the Bible is dumb, that proves it. I mean, why all those begats? If this were written by God, why would he bore us to tears with all the begats? And of course the point is obvious. God wanted us to know where the people came from that he had dealt with and that he had revealed himself to. He didn't want us dealing with these ephemeral kind of half legend, half myth personalities that suddenly popped into existence from nowhere and then disappeared to nowhere. He wanted us to be able to check historically on the people to whom he revealed himself. He wanted us to be able to tell who their father was and who their mother was, where they lived and when they lived, what happened to them and to their sons and to their daughters. He wanted to ensure that there was a continuous, unbroken chain of witnesses down through the centuries of people to whom he had revealed himself, who would pass that information on to you and me here today. And loved ones, that's the importance of those old genealogies. Those are a vital part of this book, because this book, as opposed to all other scriptures, this book says, this is history. This was done in time and space. You can check on it. You can check whose father this man was, whose mother this woman was. You can check where they lived. You can compare them with the contemporary records of that time in other nations, and you can be sure that these things happened. That's why, loved ones, when you ask the question, does God exist? You may as well ask the question, do the Jews exist? Because the Jewish history is impossible if God did not do and say the things that the Jews say he did and said. You can't separate the two. The one depends on the other.